Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Veteran Series by Fantasy Football Hub. So in the first video in this series, we met John Lambert. If you missed it, the link is in the description below. In this video, we're going to concentrate a little bit more on fantasy football as we take you back through your early fantasy years, John. So John, welcome back. What are your first memories of fantasy football all those years ago?
Well, this will take me back. My first interaction with fantasy football was when I was a software engineer at the age of 18.
Oh, wow.
And that was playing the Telegraph game on a spreadsheet. My boss used to knock it up. He used to have the paper in the office every day or once a week, and he'd mark all the scores on a spreadsheet and send our scores around. So we were all managing our team by ourselves on a piece of paper, or and I was quite good. I seem to recall first year, because I was completely new to it. I finished about third, and then I think I was in the run to win it the next year, and I just had the bug for it. I loved the challenge of identifying who were the incoming players. How could you? Because I'm a statistician and a numbers guy, so I like to think how you can balance your budget. Because I've always said that the real skill of fantasy football is being able to afford the Salah and the Kevin De Bruyne's of this world, buy the gems, but those gems have got to deliver, and it's finding those right gems and finding them early enough. Yeah,
that's where all the hours of research in the pre-season, looking at the underlying stats and kind of look at the new players who have come over. I remember in the Telegraph years ago, I started off with Michu, Santi Cazorla in his first season with Arsenal, and I'm sure that was the year. I think Hazard might have joined Chelsea. I may have got that year or two out, but I remember just having this really very cheap midfield of all these new imports in Telegraph, but they all absolutely smashed it. It was it was one of my best seasons ever, and it's because of all that kind of research in the pre-season, and it's really good fun to try and
well, taking it back, I mean the kind of players I was rolling with in that. See, I seem to remember Danny Wallace, Leeds, Hasselbank when he was at it's okay,
that was a long time ago.
I remember the Leeds lads because they were cheap. They were your Leicester at the time. They were good value, but they were good side, up and coming sides.
What is your favourite fantasy football moment? Have you got like a moment for your past where you're like, oh my god, that is it? That's the moment.
Yeah, I mean, undoubtedly, it's got to be in the 2013-14 season when we had, as a Liverpool fan, we had Suarez, we had Aaron, we had Sturridge, all doing the business, and I managed to finish my top rank ever, 1,914th, and I got first in the UAE that year.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so that's my claim to fame. That's my one accolade. I've got that screenshot. It comes out all the time. Yeah. I don't remember too much about the season. I remember that I was big on the double up of Suarez and Sturridge up front, which I would not normally like doing that, but I did it early and they delivered and delivered.
They did, didn't they? Incredible.
Yeah.
Who's your favourite ever fantasy football player?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously there's the really iconic ones of Suarez, Salah, who've scored the mega points. Thierry Henry for many years was untouchable. But I suppose, let's say, going outside of that, I used to love Steve Malbranc.
Yeah, what a player.
Really good, great value, always delivered, had a soft spot for him. Charlie Adam in the days of the man in the stands, 3 bonus points every single week.
Brilliant.
Some great players. But I suppose the best getting him, because I got him in game week 2, Mahrez, the season that he exploded, and I think he was unbelievable that year.
That was a funny season because I got him in early, but then he was kind of dropped for a game or two around about, I can't remember the game weeks. It was quite early on. It was like 6 or 7. And I took him out, and then like a couple of weeks later, he scored a hat trick. It was like, I think that was my worst season ever. But
well, that's the thing. Sometimes these early players, you saw it last year with Pookie, or this year. that they can hit the ground running, and then they can keep you off. And sometimes it is about getting off at the right time.
Yeah.
But
It wasn't then, was it? So was there a moment, John, kind of looking back, where you realise, maybe when you're a bit younger, when you realised that the fantasy football had become more than like just a hobby and was a bit of a passion now, and you were spending probably a lot more time than you ought to be kind of thinking about it and doing stuff?
Yeah, definitely. So I think I did go through a little period. If I look on my season history now, all the way back, the earliest years season history is about 2,500 rank. And then I went through a little period when I first started in sales, and my focus was all about earning my commissions, and my season ranks, my overall ranks, taking a nosedive. I've got some really ropey ranks at that period where I'd kind of taken my eye off the ball altogether. But then shortly after that, I got really focused, and I used to play long before I discovered the online community, the Twitter community, the various websites that we can utilize now. But I think it was probably around that time, maybe around the season where I finished first. And well, I think it's indicative of how much I was focused. And then I got to a point where you realise that you're on Twitter all the time. You're checking the websites and chatting on community sites. I'm now part of a WhatsApp group that's uber obsessed. It's thousands of messages every day. A group of like 35. Some really top managers, really good friends, and we just chat FPL all the time. I think, it's. My boss is not going to be watching this video, but that's. I mean, it even takes up the working day when sometimes you should be focused, and you've got transfer plans in mind, and you want to check stats, and it is an obsession, but I love it.
Yeah. It's funny, especially on things like Sky and Telegraph, where you can make fixtures on the day, and pre-match as well, is when there's matches all the time. You're constantly looking for lineups because you can obviously make the transfers on the day as well. And I think as well, another one is I find myself at times, because the points updates for the Telegraph tend to happen around between 11:30 at night and 12:30. I find myself keeping myself awake, even though I've got to be up at like 5:30, 6 in the morning to go to work, and like I've got to check my rank. If you've had a good night, for example, and
that's why I've never got the idea of, if I can use the term, bench wankery. This concept of wanting to delay your rank boost to the last thing of the weekend by leaving players to come off the bench. I want to see my rank update as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
I don't want to be languishing outside of 100k if I can avoid it. I want to be up there. So, I feel that.
Okay, John. So thanks for that. So in the next video, we'll be asking John what it's like managing an FPL team from the United Arab Emirates, with the challenges and perks that presents. The link is in the description below.